welcome into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how are we doing?
Bucks are hot, can't complain.
Oh, red hot. Red hot. And again, it's similar to how they started off last year, where it was just like, you know, first game after just they knocked off Minnesota, and I believe they went on a bit of a win streak. But now it's just like, outside of the very close loss to Houston, this team's won practically every game coming out of the All-Star break. It would have knocked off LA. It would have knocked off Washington. It would beat Miami. Had a very close loss to Houston. Beat Denver, and recently just beat the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll kind of get right into it. We'll just start off with the game on last Sunday versus the Miami Heat. Milwaukee was able to pull that off in a very close game, 120 to 113. Again, and the number one that you forget about with the Miami Heat is that you forget that Andrew Wiggins is on this team.
Yep.
Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is the new him and Bam Adebayo are going to be shouldering the load. And Tyler Hero's, to his credit, scored 40 points. Outside of that, nobody really did anything. There wasn't too many impressive performances for them. Bam obviously got his. He had 24. But, again, like we've talked about before, scoring was a lot more balanced on Milwaukee's side of the coin. Giannis had 23, Damian Lillard 28, Gary Trent 16, Kevin Porter Jr. chipped in 11 off the bench, and you had Kyle Kuzma chipping in 16. So, again, when you get scoring, when you get everybody contributing almost, then it just kind of becomes an easier time. So what did you see in Milwaukee's performance versus Miami?
I felt like, obviously, with some of the games we didn't cover, a lot of these games that the Bucks have won, and like their win streaky. Obviously, they had the one loss against Houston next, but a lot of these wins are comeback wins, going down 14 in the first quarter, 37 to 23, and then being able to come back from that was always good to see. I'd say the biggest thing for them was being able to bounce back again from that first quarter and stay above 30 for the rest of the game, especially in that fourth quarter, outscoring them by 15 points. I felt like was their biggest takeaway. Obviously, then kind of getting into like more personal stuff. Obviously, Giannis had a good game, but I'd say their biggest one, personally, obviously you have Lillard 28 and Kuzma 16. Kind of want to give it to Brook, 17 points, 4 rebounds, couple blocks, efficient shooting. So I feel like any game that Brook can score 15 plus points is always a solid game offensively, especially when everyone else can kind of get going too. So being able to get that scoring from him is always a bonus. But yeah, otherwise, again, closer game. You just had a game that Tyler Hero's going off on, just won the 3-point contest. Days before that game, had a little more than days, but since that game had taken place. So obviously you got him being like their primary scorer now, but big game from Brook and some of the not so big scorers as well, like Kevin Porter and Gary Trent, even Kuzma as well. But no, it's really good to see Kevin Porter Jr. start to really fill in the role that I think that they were kind of hoping for when they traded him for MarJon. And I don't know if you heard, but the Clippers waived MarJon. So that trade, again, sad to see him go, but that worked out great just from the production that we've gotten from Kevin Porter. But no, a good game overall. Just being able to see that not Giannis heavy scoring or Lillard heavy scoring. Obviously, they both had 20, 23, 28, but being able to see some of the more role player scorers take part in it as well and have a bigger impact with that final score.
Yeah, and I just think like the first two quarters, Milwaukee just kind of came out flat a little bit. And again, they only had 9 turnovers, so that wasn't the issue. But the issue was like, just straight shot selection. And again, Miami, like I said, they're always a tough matchup. No matter the month, no matter the year, like Miami will always be a tough matchup for Milwaukee, even without Jimmy Butler, because they're just a well-coached team. Eric Spoelstra is probably, one of the best coaches in the NBA because his guys are always ready to play. And I just think what happened in the fourth quarter was a combination of Milwaukee's offense finally woke up, and Miami, I just think, ran out of offense. I just think it's very hard to win any game on a consistent basis when you have one guy when you have one guy scoring, right? So Tyler Hero dropping 40, that's great. Where's your other pieces coming from? Where's your other offense coming from? And I just think Milwaukee got red hot, and all you need is like Miami to just miss some shots, and that's just what happened. I will always like Milwaukee's chances if Tyler Hero is the focal point on offense because I think Tyler Hero is a good young player and he's been a successful shooter. I just don't know if he can be – I just don't see him as like a franchise cornerstone guy, right? Like a Jimmy Butler who if we're going to win this game, we're going to get Tyler Hero. I think he's a good second or third option. Maybe third or fourth. I'd go maybe more or less third or fourth, but like a second option, I'm not sure about that. I'm not even sure if Bam is probably could be like someone's running mate, but like outside of that, it's just like it just feels like Miami's. I could kind of feel Jimmy Butler's frustration of like, this is what you're leaving me with. And now again, and Andrew Wiggins is not a bad player, but again, second option.
Yep.
Like they got two B guys and they don't have an A.
And very like the Nets. Yeah, just a lot of second and third guys, but no star.
No, yeah, and that is an issue because like it's hard. It's gonna be hard to like be successful when you like don't have a bona fide star on your team. Like you need good role players and you need a bona fide star and you need like they got the B guy, and I honestly think that they could, and if they were to in free agency, because God forbid they've been interested in Giannis for years. I don't think Giannis would go there, but I think if they get an A, right? Because they got two Bs. If they get an A, I do think this team could go back to see some success. But who knows if Pat Riley's going to allow that to happen? Because someone did just compare him to a mini Jerry Jones, in terms of just like. Maybe not necessarily being like, I'm going to take all the credit, but kind of having a bit of an ego there.
Mm-hmm.
Where, Dwayne Wade recently jumped on a podcast that was like, I think one of the reasons why LeBron left Miami is because Pat Riley took away LeBron's chocolate chip cookies off the plane. It's kind of a crazy thing, but it's not that far-fetched to like be like, oh yeah, this guy's micromanaging me too much. Like I don't need this. Like, I'm LeBron James. Like, I don't need to be micromanaged. So, again, that would not be far-fetched. And, again, even going back to what happened recently, Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley got into a bit of a power struggle. And all of a sudden, Pat Riley was just like, I mean, I'm not going anywhere. So, like, if anybody's going to leave, it's you. And now Jimmy Butler is all of a sudden happier in Golden State because he's – not having to shoulder the load anymore. He's not having to be the guy. But again, this is what happens. This is what happens with Miami, right? They just like they know how to build through the system, right? Like they got a bunch of no-name guys who are just like, oh, where's this guy coming from? Oh, this is. Like Gabe Vincent. Nobody knew who Gabe Vincent was until he got to Miami. And all of a sudden he's got a bag from the Lakers. And where's Gabe Vincent now? Duncan Robinson. He had a couple successful seasons. He started a podcast, played like shit, ended the podcast, and all of a sudden Duncan Robinson's like, oh my God, he's like really good because he got a bag. And, like, again, he knew about the Heat culture. He knew how to play winning basketball. And, again, now he's still, like, a rotational player for Miami. So Miami's just one of those teams that, they just get all these, like, unheralded guys. And all of a sudden, they're just like, oh, my God, Miami's, like, really, really good. The one person I notice is missing from this is, I believe, Kevin Love. which I'm kind of
Yeah, I don't think
wondering
he
now.
played. No, he didn't play.
Coach's
Not
decision?
with team
Oh, okay.
personnel, so I would assume something came up.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like, well, why is Kevin Love not there? Oh, that's what it said. It said he just had the birth of his second child and is basically on paternity leave.
Oh
So
yeah, yep.
someone called him another Udonis Haslam, which I'm going to admit that's not exactly a good role to be in.
Yeah,
Another Udonis Haslam was crazy. That's crazy work to just say that. Because again, he's basically just getting paid as another coach.
correct. Hey, still making millions,
Oh,
not
hey.
having to do as much work.
I know, but I don't want to be. I don't want to do. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be another Udonis Haslam. I would rather just
No.
retire then. Like Udonis Haslam honestly could have done that for like years.
Mm-hmm.
To just sit on the bench, just not do shit, and just kind of be like another Heat culture guy. Like that's crazy. Like that's not a like that. That would not be a fun role to be in. To be quite honest with you. So all right, moving on to the next game. Bucks at Rockets. Now I was frustrated with this game because I thought the Bucks should have won.
Yeah, that fourth quarter,
Dreadful for both teams.
you hold the other team to 15 points, and then you only scored 12.
Like that fourth quarter frustrated the hell out of me. Not only because I thought Milwaukee was like, just inches closer, just taking the game by the balls and just running with it. Pause. But but honestly, I didn't like the shot selection like in the last few minutes of that game for Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were what I like to call asshole shots. Okay? I don't understand what the rhyme or reason was for taking some of the shots that we did. But I'm like, what the hell? Like we have a chance to we had a chance to win and we just
Yeah,
just
they had like
taking
3 chances.
just bad, just really, really bad shot selection. And and even then, and even if and there was a point in time where Milwaukee missed a shot and they go in the Houston goes in the other end, they turn the ball over, and we I believe Giannis finished with the slam dunk. But then it was just we just couldn't put the ball in the basket, and that was ridiculously frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there wasn't too many. I mean, Giannis scored 27. Jalen Green scored 25 on 9 of 20, which again, that's a normal Jalen Green stat line. But again, Lillard scored 22. Lopez scored 12. AJ Green scored 12. Sengun scored 23. Jalen Green scored 25. Jabari Smith scored 13. Did not know Steven Adams was on this team, by the way. All right, there's a Fred VanVleet wouldn't even play, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A
lot of poor defense. I mean, they gave up 16 offensive rebounds. I mean, they give up 16 offensive rebounds and still only have 100 points. It's still fine. I mean, just scoring 100 points and still winning a basketball game these days, I feel like is very rare. But yeah, no, just one of those frustrating games where it's so many chances to win. They didn't. Both teams didn't play as well. The Rockets just got that one extra possession. All it took. Whichever one it was. Stupid.
We were able to tie the game at one point. Lopez commits a shooting foul. We were down 96-95, and then it's Kyle Kuzma misses 23-point jumper. Kyle Kuzma gets blocked at the rim.
Yeah, Brook Lopez, I think, took a deep 3.
Oh, and then here's the other thing I had a problem with. And then the execution at the end of that game was just maddening. Okay, Giannis fouled somebody down 1 with 30 seconds left. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what? Honestly, what the hell are you doing? And and again, he made both free throws. Brook Lopez took a 33-footer,
Yep, there it
and
is.
then they turn the ball over. Giannis makes a dunk. He makes 2 free throws, and then Lillard again.
Yep, just chucking, trying to get fouls.
And like, and actually, I think Lillard got fouled on the 3,
Yep,
and then he missed one,
correct.
and
And then
then
they obviously have to foul then.
well, I think what happened was reading it back because the NBA kind of skipped ahead was like they called a double lane violation on both players. I believe that's what it says here. It says like double lane violation on Lillard and Sengun. So then they had to jump it at center court.
Oh, yep, and then we got it, and then took another deep three.
Lillard
That's what it
missed
was.
Yeah, Lillard missed
Yep.
the 3. Which again, I don't know if I've ever seen a double lane violation on both players.
No, especially one being from the shooter.
Yeah, so Lillard must have. Well, I don't even know how that works. He like stepped forward or something, and then he
Yeah.
Oh. Never. Okay, that's never seen that before. But even again, I just don't think Milwaukee deserved to win that game because I just don't think our late game execution is very good.
No. Just a
Wasn't.
doozy game.
Oh my god. And again, this is what Houston always kind of does to Milwaukee. It always feels like it always feels like every time play Houston in Houston, it always feels like it's like those knockout drag out games where it's like the scores are just super like gross and shitty and all this other stuff. Like I think there was a game about 2 years ago where Milwaukee played maybe either it was 2022 or 2023 like where Milwaukee played against Houston. It was like this gross, like, game. And I think this was the same game where I think Steven Silas was the coach. Steven Silas, I think, lost his dad. I think I remember.
Oh, yeah, and the Bucks had everyone, and they had, like, nobody.
And I think Milwaukee still lost that game.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think if I can pull back to when Paul Silas passed away, it was 2022.
Yeah, was it like an interim coach too?
Yeah. 2022 Bucks versus Rockets.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, it was like it was like 97-92.
Yep, we had a full team. They didn't have like their top guy.
Yeah, that's had 16 points. Middleton like sprained his ankle, so he only played in 6 minutes. Holiday had 25. Grayson Allen had like 11, 17.
What a throwback.
It was Jalen Green scored 30. Former guy Kevin Porter Jr. had 18, and then Kenyon Martin had like 10. So it was just like a gross game. And Milwaukee was able to pull it out. And just it always feels like that's what those Bucks Houston games are like. They're just like these disgusting games. Which, by the way, quick side note, watching as many NBA games as we have, I'm not sure if I like all these new court designs. Because I'm seeing it. Everybody's trying to modernize their court. And I'm like, I don't know if and maybe this is just because I'm like a nostalgic guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like every team like modernizing their courts. Right? Like, I was looking at Houston's court, and this is more specifically goes towards like we'll talk about in a little bit, but Dallas's court, and I'm like, it's like the gray.
Yep, the Nets. I remember doing the gray.
I'm like, I think we're going overboard with like how many courts need to be modernized. Right? I just think some of these courts are just like they don't look good. Updated. I'm just like, why don't you just stick to what you have?
I feel that. Then they went overboard last year with the cup courts.
Oh god, those were bad. Oh, the Heat one this year, that was an eyesore.
Yep, the
That one
solid
was nice.
colors.
Oh my god, that thing was such an eyesore. So, all right, moving on to the next game. Nice little TNT game. It was the Nuggets versus the Bucks. Bucks able to pull out the win, 121 to 112. I'm sure there's a lot of people that were nervous before this game started just because of the fact that, just because like the Nuggets are always like a very challenging team, but Nicole had a nice little 32 piece. Jamal
Yep,
had
triple
20.
double.
Yeah. Christian Brown, I believe.
Braun.
Who Braun? I don't think it's Braun, it's Brown, isn't it?
It's spelled like
Brown.
Ryan Braun.
Oh. That was Braun. All right. Anyways, he dunked on Brook Lopez, so that's a good nice little highlight for him. Sometimes being tall, man, if a guy's got a little more spring in his step, he's gonna catch you. But like I said, Giannis had 28, Lopez had 22, Lillard had 19, Torian Prince and Gary Trent added in some points. Although this was one of those games where, watching Jericho Sims play, I was like, God damn it, I miss Bobby Portis.
Yep.
When he missed I think he missed a dunk or like a 2-foot layup.
Yeah, something super close to the hoop.
And I'm like, oh god damn it, we got to get Bobby Portis back. Jesus, like he's a lot better defensively than he is offensively because offensively he's just a guy who could he could clear up the glass a little bit, but like outside of that, geez Louise, it's just like, dude, what are you doing? So, I guess for this big and nationally televised game, what did you see in Milwaukee's performance versus Denver?
It was so back and forth. The lack of defense played in this game was through the roof. There's a couple plays of like Jokic going viral of him just like watching guys walk right to the hoop and he like doesn't intervene when he can fully take 3 steps back and help contest. But no, it's just so back and forth for the whole game up until the fourth quarter. Obviously Jokic did what he will always do, efficient shooting, triple double. Obviously Giannis having a 28-19 game, almost a triple double as well, but I don't know, like I wasn't like super into it until late in the game. Obviously it was a lot of like Bucks were up 12, now we're up 8, now we're losing, now we're a lot of back and forth until again that the very last quarter with a lot of back and forth. But I think what I did enjoy a lot about it again was that scattered scoring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double figures, all of them but Torian Prince at 15 plus. So a lot of scoring from again those secondary guys or guys who usually aren't going to get 10, 15. Obviously Brook Lopez with his highlight reel dunking on Jokic. It's not the best look if you are getting chalked up and dunked on by Brook Lopez beating you to the hoop, but hey, Brook Lopez can do whatever he wants, I guess. But yeah, no, I felt good a lot later into the game. All it took was just a few missed shots, and then Gary Trent getting hot near the end as well with a couple threes and just being able to finally put it away at the last few minutes and feeling a little more sigh of relief just because, again, that back and forth the whole game, you never really knew who was going to take over, and there wasn't really anyone who had that steady lead. The Bucks were up like 12 at one point, and the Nuggets had a 6-point lead, but I didn't really feel too like amped up about the game than I was hoping to with the Giannis Jokic matchup just because of the no defense. I don't remember who was broadcasting. Is it Reggie Miller, Richard Jefferson, one of those guys? But I remember at one of the points they're like, "Oh, and another wide open 3 for I think Aaron Gordon." No defense on this possession, and it's like, yep, they're just letting them shoot, even though they think Michael Porter Jr. He shot whopping 5 of 22 and 2 of 11 from three. So honestly, let him keep shooting. But yeah, no, the amount of like wide open shots Porter and Gordon got, even though they didn't hit a lot, were a little too many for my comfort. Not a lot of boxing out since they gave up 14 offensive rebounds.
So I believe it was. I believe I'm not mistaken. I believe it was Kevin Harlan and it was Reggie Miller. I believe.
Okay.
I think it was their A squad, if I'm not mistaken. But look, oh my God. First of all, people are right what they say about Michael Porter Jr. That man does not pass. Like, I swear to God, I don't think anytime I saw like him have the ball, put the ball in his hand, that man just was chucking it. Like, I swear to God, the man has the greenest light known to man. Like, he doesn't get benched. He just shoots.
Yep, averaging 2 assists this year.
Oh, my. He has the greenest light I think I've ever seen somebody touch a basketball. Somebody ever touch on a basketball court. It is insane. The man just shoots. And again, But again, there's two things I learned. Number one, Michael Porter Jr. has like the greenest light known to man. Number two, Nikola Jokic. Oh my God, I'm honestly gonna say, he is, for a big guy, the greatest passer of the basketball I think I've ever seen. People want to throw McHale in there. Like, no, I've never seen anybody be able to pass the basketball and know where everybody is at all times better than Nikola Jokic. There were some things where he literally just takes the rebound, throws a full court pass just perfectly in stride. I've never seen it before. The play that I'm talking about is he catches a rebound off a miss. He tosses that shit perfectly to Russell Westbrook, and it was like the man was in stride. Like, it was just leading him to like a perfect position. He is so smart. And I cannot say enough good things about the way Nikola Jokic passes the basketball. It is an art form when he does. Like, it really is. He is the greatest I'd say in NBA history, I would put him up there as like a top 5 greatest passer of the basketball I think I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it.
It's so like frustrating because obviously it's him and Giannis, like always talked about like top 2 in the league, but then Jokic always does something where it's like, oh, that was impressive. Where you like, obviously you can't hate Jokic just of like his style of play. He's not an annoying player who's just really good at the game. But yeah, no, the full court passes. Obviously Giannis has a couple like curls, but the way that he can like precisely dot some of his passes, no, is super impressive.
Dude, oh my God. And again, it's not even a turnover. Like, sometimes when you throw a full court pass, right, it's just like, why would you throw that? It's like 2 guys. Like, dude, like, it's perfectly in stride. Like, he never puts the ball in harm's way. He's honestly like the basketball version of Aaron Rodgers, where you just never worried about like him turning it over. Like, he's just so smart. He knows where everybody is at all times. Like, there was a point where like he was driving in, they had 2 guys on him. He quickly flipped back and like hit Michael Porter Jr. for like a 3. Granted, he didn't make it, but it was just like he just knows. He just has like eyes in the back of his head. Like, it is insane how much like I just cannot say enough good things about him. And he's one of those. He'll go down as one of the people where it's like he was in the second round. Got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, and like nobody picked up on it. Nobody was like, "Oh, this guy's like too fat. Like, he's not going to make it in the league." And all of a sudden, he's developed into one of the greatest big men to ever play this game. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. He is what, a 3-time MVP, 2-time MVP, a Finals MVP. What else does he need to do? Like,
and people just say play defense. But like, he makes up for it on offense.
Yeah, he's an elite basketball player. And again, I understand what people are saying where it's like those clips. I mean, again, what do you want him to do? Okay, he's not gonna the man's conserving his energy. He's basically like, well, they already beat me, so it's like, why do I need to waste my time? Type of thing. Like you're not gonna he's not gonna try hard on every possession. It's like, well, you still need me for offense. So I mean, look, and like you said, people get got. Okay, like Lopez got by Christian Brown, and like you mentioned before, Lopez got Jokic. So it's like,
Hmm. Yeah, then no, that was the Mavs game. I'm thinking of one of Giannis's, but yeah, Mavs game was a lot better.
yep. Let's move on to the Mavs game. Actually, yeah, and again, to be fair to Dallas, they are missing AD. So Lillard or Giannis at 29, Lillard 28, Gary Trent at 20. Um, but look at this. It's like Kyrie at 31, Moses Brown. I've never heard of him before.
Nope, he's on a
18.
10-day, I think.
Oh Jesus Christ. Clay Thompson at 16. I mean, Clay Thompson's looking. I'm not saying he's washed, but he's not the player he used to be, which you expect to be. Jaden Hardy at 16. Dinwiddie at 12. But again, outside of that, you just don't. I mean, they just don't have a whole hell of a lot. So I mean, I guess what did you see in Milwaukee's performance against Dallas?
I think a lot of it. The only thing that sucks is that I remember Gary Trent started out the game like shot after shot making them, but then I guess kind of kept heat checking where everything was kind of going off. But the one, the bigger one, I still think I'm gonna Gary Trent or not Gary Trent, Kevin Porter again, still getting 11 off the bench in 12 minutes, and then obviously the other one is Giannis, 29, 9 of 14, super efficient. Actually shot his free throws well. Shot a 3-pointer like he always does, but almost a triple double. I think is again another noting he was one stat, one assist, one rebound away from triple double, but they're playing a lot better, I think, without Bobby Portis. Again, they're 5-1 without him. So obviously there's things that can kind of make up for it. This was again one of those games where Jericho Sims also had a little bounce back. 3 for 3, 8 rebounds, a lot better offensively or defensively with that. But I think if Anthony Davis was playing, it would have been a whole different story. But not having to play against him, I think, helped. But yeah, no, Giannis the big one, and then excuse me, Lillard as well. Again, another game with a lot more staggered scoring, obviously with Giannis and Lillard scoring 28 and 29, but Gary Trent 20, Kevin Porter 11, Kuzma 10, Torian Prince. Again, Torian Prince is still so iffy just because he's such a good spot up shooter, and I feel like 9 points just never really seems like a lot for him. I feel like he's a guy who could get 12 to 15. Yeah, no, I felt good, especially near the end. It was, I feel like a lot closer of a game than I feel like it should have been. And I feel like I mean, they did win by 15, but I just feel like they gave up 117 points, which I felt like was a little too much, especially with one of their most dominant scorers on their team is out. And then kind of looking at their stats since he's been injured and since Luka's been gone, I felt like was a little too much scoring for my liking, but still being able to put up a large scoring game, one of their highest ones this year, I feel like. So a good bounce back and just a good good way to keep the win streak going. Obviously they're at 2 now, and feeling a lot more confident with their playing than I was in the beginning of the season. Still a little iffy on the 3-pointer some games, but I felt good. I didn't even realize this. They shot 35 free throws to the 25 for the Mavs. So being a lot more efficient with that and their 3-pointers, I feel like has been carrying them a lot, and getting the contributions from their new guys. I feel like all three have been in different ways extremely solid, and I feel like every trade that they made, they've clearly won, especially with the Kevin Porter trade.
Yeah, and again, what people don't realize about Torian Prince, he's number 2 in the league in 3-point percentage. Like statistically, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. The only person ahead of him is Luke Kennard with 46%. But yeah, Torian Prince has been, he's been a marksman this year. And again, I think that's a credit to the work that he put in the summer. I think that's a credit to the different assistant coaches that Doc Rivers employed, because I do think that guys do say what you will about Doc Rivers, but I do think players for the most part, like unheralded players, have career years under Doc Rivers. I think Torian Prince He's always been a good player.
Yeah, and I think this was the one game they I saw it like live, but now the clip's kind of going a little viral. The one of some timeout was called by the Bucks, and Giannis just kind of grabbing the clipboard. And then I think after that they wanted like a 23-10 run, just kind of making plays himself. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to kind of notice, but it was funny.
Yeah, and again, and I think Milwaukee still does have some issues heading into the postseason. I think that their carelessness with the ball is still very much a concern.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because let's see in this game they had 13 turnovers. So I mean, again, I would like to see them clean that up a little bit, and I think that they're doing like a better job of it. Points of the paint, I think, is a concern. 58 to 46, like. I just think that overall, I just think that shot selection, a lot of offensive rebounds, and just the overall turnovers, I think that will be a concern heading into the postseason. I just think averaging 13 turnovers a game, I just don't think that's a good recipe for success. Um, and again, it's one of those things where it's like, what else do you expect him to do? Because it's like Lillard and Giannis are going to turn the ball over because they're the ones who have the ball the most in their hands. So it's just like, and Giannis has always been like as good of a player he is. He's always his turnover rate's always been like really high because his usage rate really high because the ball is always in his hand. So of course he's gonna probably turn it over more than anybody else on the team. Lillard too. I just think that when you have a guy who just handles the ball as much as he does, you're gonna turn it over, and I just don't think there's really a fix for that. I would like to see the passing be a little more crisp because I feel like sometimes it just kind of goes into like they try to force it in there or someone's doing too much or some of that stuff. I would like to see them clean it out before the season, like as they kind of head into the postseason. Because let me tell you, if you turn the ball over as much as Milwaukee has heading in the regular season, you're not winning. Like you're not like you might be able to escape out of the first round, but like eventually that will get exposed.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, like we've said in the past, at this point in the season too, it's crunch time too. So I like the style, I like the flow. Obviously, there's still tweaks. There's a lot of tweaks for all teams out there still, but I don't know. Kind of getting to that. It's March already, so we're like what a month and a half, 2 months out until the end of the season already. So, um, I'm feeling a lot more confident. Obviously, I looked at the standings yesterday. I think right now they'd play the Pacers unironically again, that first round. So who knows with them? No, feeling good, feeling good.
Well, I think we can. I think Milwaukee can beat Indiana. They just got to be. Everybody has to be healthy though. Like that's the whole thing. Is like, Lillard wasn't really healthy last year, and Giannis like went out before the postseason started. So it was just like, you know, I don't think they had a chance in hell against Indiana. I
No,
just don't think they had enough. They were just too beaten up.
yeah,
And
right.
I think if they played the Pacers again, I think they would probably win that series. But that's assuming everyone's healthy.
Yeah, the Bucks and Pacers are tied record wise, but I think we have the tiebreaker over them. Um, yeah, they're because they're the fourth seed with the same record. So yeah, they just have the tiebreaker over them.
So wait, we would play Indiana again in the first round?
Say it again.
We would play Indiana again in the first round.
We're the fourth seed and fifth seed. Does that make sense? Is that the right one, or am I off on a bracket?
Maybe off on a bracket because if they're right next to each other, I don't know if those two teams would play
Yeah,
each other. So like,
I forget. Or is it the Pistons are six?
would it be so if the Bucks get the three always plays the six. I don't know if that's changed, but when the four played the well, wait, hang on, no, because what am I thinking about? Because the maybe the four does play the three because the eight doesn't the eight always play the one?
Yep. Yeah, top seed always plays the worst one.
Okay, so then I'm trying to remember who the three seed would play.
NBA playoff. Let me look up a bracket because I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah, because I'm trying to because maybe they do play right next to each other in the bracket.
Okay, so right now they would be playing the Pacers.
Pace. Okay.
Cavs play the 8 seed. Bucks play the 5. 4 plays 5. 3 6. 2
All right.
7.
All right. Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. I just wanted to double check that because,
Yeah.
admittedly, how many people really pay attention to like seeding and all this other stuff? There's a lot of people put a lot of stock into seeding. I don't really, to be quite honest with you. Home court advantage. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a advantage, but like it really comes down to who has a better team. Um, I watched the Cavs and the Celtics game the other day, and honestly, what that really comes down to is like, okay, yeah, the Cavs were able to fend off like a huge deficit, and they were able to win. But if those two teams play in like a 7 game series or something like that, like
Yeah.
I'd taken the Celtics.
Yeah, the Bucks haven't been the best on the road, a little under 500, but
No, they really
obviously every team wants home court.
Yeah, and again, they really hadn't been good. Like last week's game against the Wizards, that was actually the first time Milwaukee won a game in which they had to play back to back.
Yep.
Like and it really was scratching that out because let me tell you something, they did not play well in that game at all. Like they were like Middleton played decently well, but like Milwaukee as a whole just like were lucky to win that game. I just did not think they looked good.
Being down 16 and then winning by 3 points near the end against the Wizards.
And again, you can only do that against the Wizards, right? If they were doing that against any other good team, you're not winning.
That's the Bucks for you.
That's the Bucks. And again, even go back to the first game against the Clippers, right? Like the first game coming out of the All-Star break against the Clippers. Like, I thought they played pretty well for the most part. I did think that there was a thing of like, James Harden may have been hunting for fouls a little bit, and he was still getting them. James Harden is the biggest foul merchant that this league still has, and he still gets away with it. And because there was at one point, I believe Gary Trent was guarding him, and he like hooked his arm, and they originally called a foul.
Yeah, with the locking arms.
Yeah, and then they're like, no, we saw he hooked his arm as an offensive foul. So
yeah, finally, that's how he averages 40 points a game in his prime because he fouls and gets the calls.
That's the shit he would pull all the time, and they didn't have like the resources to like review it. So like now it's just like, oh no, now we can review it. Now we can get this right.
Yeah, looked up those stats. Yeah, that's always annoying. That's why he would shoot like 18 free throws a game.
I know. It pissed me off to no end.
Yeah, he was 8 of 21 that game, 2 of 10 from 3. What was his free throws? But only shot 7 free throws.
7. All right. See,
somehow.
Kawhi looked pretty good. Nice little 25. Zubac was killing us in the paint. Bogdanovich, that's not a surprise either. 15 points. Like Bogdanovich, it doesn't surprise me what he does anymore.
Yeah, Bucks killer.
Bucks killer. And Norman Powell did not play.
Nope. Luckily, yeah. Now they got 2 Bucks killers on one team.
Ben Simmons. People forget that Ben Simmons is now also on the Clippers. Good for him. Not having to be the focal point guy once again. Love that for Benny. But yeah, no. Again, those were a couple good wins coming out of the All-Star break. Again, I mean, I feel bad for Chris Middleton because he's got to play with Jordan Poole, and honestly,
in DC.
I don't know if that's a good position for him to be in. Like, that's not a recipe for success because Jordan Poole is just like, well, I'm going to get mine. And, unfortunately, it's one of those positions where Chris Middleton's going to have to be like the veteran presence, so to speak. And I'm like, damn, I think he deserves a little better than that, to be quite honest with you. Damn. Sorry, I'm looking at the next game. It's the Timberwolves at the Suns. The Suns are like 28-32.
Huh. The OKC game right now is 146 to 127.
I think that game just ended.
Minute 13 left in the game.
Jesus, you're behind.
Who's going off for them?
You are behind, my friend.
Oh yeah, then it's a little behind. Yeah, now I just click something and it refreshed. I don't want this game.
So what I'm hearing for Phoenix is that, huh? So you're saying that it has nothing to do with the coach. It has everything to do with how you construct your roster. Huh.
Yep,
Well, funny how that
crazy.
works. Hey, maybe if we hire Mike Budenholzer, who gets us 50 wins a year, hey, maybe we'll be better. Huh. Come to
No.
find out they're 28 and 32, and just having three
Yeah,
superstars.
no. I saw something where people were like, when he was coaching on the Bucks, he was coaching, and now coaching for the Suns, he's like coaching for his job. Meshing with the Bucks, and then he leaves, and now he's like, shoot, I gotta, I gotta step up a little bit.
They're not being fair to him. Number one, because you're not building a good team around him. Like, literally, people are like shitting on Frank Vogel, but it's not Frank Vogel's fault that that like that the roster construction that you guys put on that team was shit. Okay, it's not about the superstars, Evan. Who do you have around them? That's literally I've been saying the same thing for the Sixers for 3 years. It's fine to have Embiid. It's fine to have Maxey. It's fine to have Harden. But who do you have around them? Because let me tell you this, and I'm gonna say it till I'm blue in the face. Role players win championships. It's not superstars. People have this misnomer that superstars win championships. They play it like they're gonna get theirs. It's role players. Okay? Who's
People
gonna be your
forget
team
Pat
leader?
Connaughton finals run.
Huh?
People forget Pat Connaughton in the finals.
He helped us win. It wasn't just Chris Middleton and Giannis. People like Brook Lopez made big plays. You have to have role
Mm-hmm.
players make big plays to win a championship. That's literally what this comes down to. And the Suns don't have anybody like that right now. They don't have role players that they can rely on to be like, oh yeah, this is like Kevin Durant. I don't remember the last time he's made it out of the first round.
And he was playing like 46 minutes a game that
20,
series.
2021, I believe is the last time he made it out of the first round.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing? Like you need like I don't know who the GM there is, and the owner, of course, is just like, well, it's all the coach's fault. And again, that's the owner's answer for everything. It's just like, well, let's just fire the owner and like let's keep the GM. No, it's the GM has a part in this too. They're the one who constructs the roster. It's not the coach. Okay, this has nothing to do with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, or Kevin Durant. It has everything to do with like who you're putting around them. You're not putting good players around them. You don't think players will want to come to Phoenix if like with Kevin and play with Kevin Durant? Of course they would. But it's like but if you don't put good players around them, then like your team's gonna end up exactly how the Suns are right now. Um, so I'm gonna move on to a couple more things I wanted to talk about. Do you think? Are you concerned at all? We talked about Kyle Kuzma, how he could be a good third option. Are you concerned at all that he really only plays good one half, and then the second half he just kind of I don't know shits the bed? Like he's never played good for two halves.
Uh, a, a little. If I feel like I'd be a little more concerned if I knew we didn't have guys who could somewhat make up for that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's concerning because you want a guy to. He could be 10 times better if, again, you can get through that whole game. Um, but I feel like I'm not as concerned. I feel like if I didn't think that there were other guys who could make up for it, like if we knew, like if Gary Trent was performing well, AJ Green was performing well, maybe like Torian Prince was, they're all like being like more below average, and we're like really relying on our starters to do well.
Yep.
Then I'd be a little more concerned. But excuse me, I kind of think knowing that there are some guys who can pick up a little scoring slack and rebounding, assists as well, I feel a little more comfortable with it, but obviously it's still a little concerning just because you want a guy to perform for all four quarters that he's playing in. But not as much, obviously, with some of the guys that we have.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you. I'm a little concerned, but I'm not as concerned because like you just hope that other people like KPJ, like you know, I guess Bobby Portis when he comes back, like AJ
Yeah, we
Green.
got guys.
Yeah, Ajax has like completely lost minutes.
Yep.
Which I, which I, which again, Doc Rivers only plays 8 guys, so it's like I guess I understand that. But it does suck because Ajax went from being a starter to just not playing at all. So I guess this is kind of what it is now. If Kuzma, as long as they contribute on other ends, I don't mind it as much. If he's like playing a little defense and stuff like that, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and he's a good rebounder too.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I'm not as concerned about it. And here's so I want to move on to my last question. My last question: does watching Jericho Sims play make you miss Bobby Portis, or are you one of those where it's like, well, Sims isn't the greatest offensive player in the world, but he is very good defensively, where he could switch and he can guard like all 5 guys.
Obviously I miss Bobby just because again he can be one of those guys who can get 10, 12 rebounds and somehow score 20 points. So I think it hurts, I think, more on the offensive side. But I'm not as much concerned just because with more experience, I feel, and like whoever he's around, it depends on like what the rotation is. Cause there's sometimes where he's in where it's like, there's not like a lot of offensive effort too with some of like rotation. So I feel like it depends on who's on the floor with him. But I feel comfortable with it just because again, he's not here to score 10, 15 points. He's here to grab rebounds. Um, does make me miss Bobby sometimes watching him play, but I think this past game against the Mavs is a little reassuring. Being able to see him score 6 points, go 100% from the field and grab 8 rebounds as well. So I think that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'd rather have him grab more rebounds than score. Kind of like Andre, I'd rather have him play defense than try to just chuck up threes whenever he can. But does make me miss Bobby a little bit, but I still think they're able to hold it down with him out there. As long as he can effectively grab rebounds how he should and how he's been able to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, Jericho Sims, he's just supposed to be like a rolling big who can like play a little defense and maybe give like Brook Lopez a blow.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I'm not expecting too much from Jericho Sims on the offensive end of the floor. Like defensively, I think he's like doing a lot better. I think he can grab rebounds. I just think that's what Milwaukee needs. It's just another big. Because Bobby Portis, like I said, when he's out there, and again, maybe they could go with the lineup where Jericho and Bobby like because we do need a center. You do need a guy who can like clear the boards. And I think Jericho Sims is perfect for that role. So I think that going forward, I think that would be pretty optimal for Milwaukee. So, you got anything else?
I don't think we play a game until Tuesday. I think we got today and tomorrow off. I forgot who we play next. Let me double check. Upcoming. We got the Hawks on Tuesday, and then a back-to-back again with the Mavs on Wednesday. Home game this time.
Nope.
But only 3 games this week. Oh, no, sorry, 4 games this week. 2 back-to-backs. So we got Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Magic, and then the Cavs again. I think. Is this their third Cavs matchup, or is this their final one? I don't remember.
Yeah. I believe they've
It's 3 or 4. I know that for sure.
They've lost all their meetings, I believe.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, maybe this is the game.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
Hopefully they can beat Cleveland finally.
Yeah, I think they can go 3 or 4 this week. Hope they can keep the streak going. It'd be nice to beat the Cavs.
Yeah,
hopefully. Just don't really know. Obviously, the Cavs just had that huge comeback against the Celtics the other day. Down like 25-3 in the first quarter. Tatum's
talking shit.
Tatum's shooting him off already, but now he got 2 back-to-backs. But again, best case scenario, obviously 4-0, but I think 3 and 4 is reasonable, especially now with Suggs being out on the Magic, so they're kind of losing guys too. But yeah, I feel confident with it.
Yep. So, all right. Thank you guys for tuning into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks at Tap podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.